Why, hello and welcome everybody. It is Pohx again. So today we're going to be talking about two things specifically. There is a third thing to be talked about, which will be in a future video, which is actually the boss fight with Comb, Calm, Kipo, Kappa, whatever you'd like to call him. That'll be for a future date, probably tomorrow. I actually haven't gotten to watch the video yet. But today we're going to be talking about some new items, along with some new skills that are coming out. Also, I'm pretty excited because I'm getting a new mouse tomorrow because this mouse is broken. So this will be a lot of fun. Getting a Razer Naga Epic. So first time trying on a wireless mouse. See how it happens. But so let's talk about it. Let's go into the unique amulet first. All right. So you can see a screenshot of the aura here. Let's check this out really fast. All right. So this necklace is a gate base, which means it's 18 strength and 18 int, and you might actually be able to make this with a recipe, but I'm not gonna. That's for something else. You can see it rolls. It has a roll of mana regen. It has 2% life regen per second. You and nearby allies gain 1% of life regen per second. You and nearby allies gain 40% increased mana regen. So, judging by what this says, you as a person gain 3% life regen per second, and about 60-something% mana regen. Is there something that you want to say to everybody? Is there any need that you had to come up here? Do you want to say hello? What do you want? Okay, you can sit here. That's fine. All right, so it's safe to say that this is actually a really cool kind of support necklace in a way, because it's kind of turning support characters in a new way to being able to support. So ideally, if you were going to be a support character and you were using this, you would probably... Can you not touch the mouse, please? Alright, you would probably have to like roll the top off the implicit to get like extra curse, but it's just nice seeing new stackable auras kind of in a way, if that makes sense. So let's actually go look at what the aura looks like. And you can see there, it's not vitality, it's a new type of thing. So it's cool. Anything you can get that's stackable really promotes party play, but doesn't really detain from solo play. I don't even know what the word detain means, so I'm just going to shut up. So that's pretty cool. Summoners, it seems pretty neat on Summoners, a 1% life regen aura. The only problem is, like, usually for Summoners, you get hit hard with dex requirements, and there's no dex on this amulet, so it's a little iffy. Summoners don't typically need mana regen as well. People brought up, I don't play RF, but this seems like a really good piece for RF because it's 3% life regen, which is pretty big for RF. So that's that. That's pretty neat. It's cool seeing these types of things coming out. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at these new skills. So first off, I do want to state that there are additional skills coming out. There's 5 new skills that have not been announced yet. And I want to assume this is going to be before the beta, and the beta is on 420. So let's continue on and start going on with it. Alright, so we've got devastating new skills coming out. There's 2 categories of skills. The first category are the Golems, or Golems. These conjured allies are more durable than regular Path of Exile minions. So that's one thing to note. They're more tanky than your regular standard minions. And have one important rule. You can only have one golem out at a time. Summoning a new one immediately replaces the current one. The Awakening includes a second category of skills called the War Cries. The War Cries all share cooldown and are helpful in group play. War Cries scale in effectiveness based on how many monsters and are nearby when the skill is used. So kind of like Enduring Cry right now, which will be changed to a War Cry as well. So we got Summon Flame Golem. A seething, crackling companion, the Flame Golem best serves a player who likes to fight in the thick of battle. Rather than joining his master on the front lines, this incarnation prefers to keep its distance, bombarding foes from afar with a powerful mortar attack. When engaged up close, the Flame Golem buffets enemies with a periodic wave of scorching fire. It can also expel a gout, I've never heard of that word before, of steady flames. When its other abilities are on cooldown, the Golem grants its master a global buff to all damage dealt. For people who don't know, each Golem will grant you a buff. Now, one thing to note, because people are saying some stuff about them, it specifically says the Golem grants its master a global buff. So I don't know exactly how that works. It says its master, it doesn't say minions, it doesn't say an aura, so we're going to have to see how that works. So now if we look at the actual gem, It is tagged as a Golem, which means it's going to go off Golem stuff, so you might see Golem nodes in the tree, or jewels for Golems. It's tagged as a spell. I'm assuming that's just for the cast speed. It could be tagged as spell damage now. It's tagged as a minion, which means summoners gain an additional benefit for using it. And it's tagged as fire because it's the element fire. Summon a flame golem that grants you increased damage while active. The flame golem can use a fire spray, a wave of fire damage, and an explosive arcing projectile. 30% increased minion maximum life, which is pretty big, and grants 15% increased damage. Now, we don't know what happens when the golem levels up. I'm going to assume its base stats scale as well. We don't know what quality does either on the golem. It's safe to say that the minion life is probably going to level up. I don't know. Actually, maybe it's not. I don't have any clue what's going to happen. I'm going to assume that the increased damage will not actually level up. It could. It very well could. But I'm just going to assume it doesn't. Because 15% is still like a node or so of damage. It's not bad. It's okay. But, you know, maybe it does level up. Maybe they really want to get players a lot stronger. But here's the Flame Golem. Next up we have the Ice Golem. A glistening, frigid companion, the Ice Golem best serves agile characters with high mobility. It is a blur on the battlefield, whirling through packs of enemies, charging to and fro. It periodically transforms itself into an icy turret, firing a barrage of serrated rime. The Ice Golem is the most damaging of the trio, striking down foes with a powerful melee attack when engaged up close. It grants both increased accuracy and a substantial global critical strike chance buff to its master. Alright, I actually lied. I think that the golems do actually scale up. Now here's why. So I haven't, for people who don't know, I look at this, like this is my second time looking at it, so I don't like research this and stuff. It specifically says it grants a substantial global critical strike chance. Because it says substantial and 20% increased crit chance is not substantial, I'm actually pretty confident that the golems level up and the auras will scale with it, which is going to be fucking amazing if that's true. That's huge. I'm actually really excited. I could, of course, be blown out with that, and maybe it's not true, but it seems like it would now. But anyway, summon an Icy Golem that grants you increased critical strike chance and accuracy while active. The Ice Golem can use an icy barrage spell and a chilling spinning dash in addition to its melee attack. It's pretty cool, man. Pretty neat. I'm actually really hyped for this now. Summon Chaos Golem. A hulking armored companion, the Chaos Golem best serves characters who value survivability over offense. The Golem is robust and fortified, covered in a carapace of hardened crystals. These crystals contain powerful chaotic energy that periodically envelops the incarnation, damaging everything nearby. It can also focus this energy into a beam, blasting a line of advancing foes. In close quarters, the Chaos Golem uses its bulk to pummel enemies. It grants physical damage reduction to its master. This is actually my favorite golem. Summon a Chaos Golem that grants you physical damage reduction while active. The Chaos Golem can use damage over time Chaos Aura and a cascade of Chaos Spikes in addition to its melee attack. And it gives 3% additional physical damage reduction, which is pretty neat for those Roas and stuff and Leapers that charge you. But more importantly, it has a degen. The thing I like about that is usually minion AI is really dumb, and if it has a degen that periodically just goes off, that's really, you don't have to worry about it. It's just constantly degenning targets. If I were to play a summoner, my current summoner, this is the golem that I would use. If I were to play my fire trapper, I would either use this one or the fire golem. The only reason why I say the fire golem is because I use elemental weakness and I use flammability and I scale fire damage. I don't know what affects the golem yet 100%, but that's pretty much, those are the reasons for it. Next up, we've got some of the war cries. So we've got Rallying Cry. Rallying Cry is a perfect new tool for a character who loves the front lines of combat. When uttered, this skill substantially boosts the damage and mana regeneration of the player and all nearby allies. The size of this buff is based on the number of adjacent enemies. All monsters who hear the Rallying Cry immediately turn to attack the player who used it. Rallying Cry. It performs a war cry granting increased damage and mana regeneration to you and your allies. The damage increases... The damage increase is increased by surrounding enemies. So you get 140% increased damage per 100 nearby enemies, which effectively is pretty neat. It's actually pretty neat. The cool thing about this is, first off, it's tagged as a duration, so hopefully you can scale with duration nodes in the tree and increase duration. But the cool thing is you get 2 mana regen per second, which a lot of people wouldn't think matters. I still think it's really cool. If you're playing a build that runs off blood magic, and you have just enough mana to cast your stuff, and you use Rallying Cry and just have this bulk mana regen bypasses, like flat mana regen bypasses your leech, because it's a separate mechanic. You can only leech 12.5% of your maximum mana per second. But if you have like a flat 20 mana regen per second, that adds on top of your leech, which can easily just be the ability to remove your blood magic until you get better gear. I really like this because of that. And the damage is good too. Like, that's a good amount of damage. So it's like you gain 2 benefits for doing it. It's pretty neat. I actually really like this cry. Next up, we have Abyssal Cry. Abyssal Cry is an ideal skill to use when you're surrounded and outnumbered. It blasts outward in a shimmering wave, assaulting your enemy's senses and driving them mad. Affected monsters are slowed in direct proportion to their numbers. A deep malice temporarily takes hold of their bones, causing them to detonate violently if they're slain. Any afflicted by the Abyssal Cry lose all sense, mindlessly pursuing the enemy or the player who uttered it. So, as you can see by this gem, this one's pretty neat because it reduces movement speed, which is, it's not bad. Reducing movement speed helps a lot, but explosions deal chaos damage equal to 8% of the monster's maximum life. This could be good and bad, because if you kill a target, remember, there's going to be no prolif, so this could be kind of slowly trying to move characters out of proliferation builds, because removing a corpse removes the prolif most likely, and they kind of want to just get out of that, which is cool. It's an interesting way to go around it. And it deals chaos damage. Chaos damage is not reflectable, so it's just free additive damage. Why not? So it's also pretty neat. Next up, we have Vigilant Strike, which we talked about before in a previous video, so I don't want to go over too much about it, but I'll just read it. Vigilant Strike is an unerring melee attack dealing substantial single target damage with a huge defensive benefit. Whenever a player lands a blow with Vigilant Strike, they gain a brief boost to damage reduction called Fortify. Fortify reduces most incoming damage by 25%. Most. Not all. Most. Regardless of type or origin, damage over time effects are unaffected by Fortify. Alright, so remember that. Let's go over the support gem. Okay, the Fortify support gem grants the benefits of the Fortify buff without commitment to a specific melee skill. Any melee skill supported by Fortify gains a modest boost to damage and grants the Fortify buff whenever it hits. The Fortify buff does not stack but refreshes to 4 seconds each time it's applied. Okay, here's why this skill is cool. So first off, one thing to note is an interesting thing. Vigilant Strike can be scaled with duration. Fortify cannot be scaled with duration. So that's kind of 2 things to look at. However, Fortify does not just give the Fortify buff. Fortify increases melee physical damage, which means as a support gem, it gives a little bit of damage. And the reason why that's cool is when you're playing a build like Ground Slam or something into deep endgame, and you've got your 6-link set up, and you're playing a physical build primarily, you've got these, you've got Hatred and you've got added Fire, and you can actually kill yourself to Elemental Reflect, especially if you have in a group cursing like Ally Weakness and some other stuff. Replacing like added Fire with Fortify would make your damage more towards physical and less elemental, which could help you out if you have enough damage already with Reflect. So this is a pretty cool gem. I actually really like it for that reason. And then we have Bloodlust. Bloodlust is going to be like, it's going to be pretty big, man. So I'm going to read what Bloodlust does. This is a support gem. This is a new one. Completely new. Lay waste to your foes and delight in their gushing wounds with the Bloodlust support gem. Characters deal massive extra damage to anything already suffering a bleed effect. The catch with this support gem is that you cannot apply a bleed directly with the supported skill, so clever interweaving of abilities is necessary. Bloodlust shines in a party situation where your allies are also causing enemies to bleed. Bloodlust is a... Oh, sorry, one thing to note is Fortify is only a 10% mana multiplier, 110. It's very low. But Bloodlust is 40% more physical damage against bleeding enemies. That is really big, guys. That's a multiplier. Multipliers are big. It's like math. essentially, anyone that's using Puncture, or I guess you could use Puncture as a secondary skill. I don't know how Puncture and Melee Splash works, but for bosses, if you're doing like a crit build, you put on like Bloodlust, you slap the boss with Puncture and just right in the face. Just you pop him right in the kisser. So this is pretty big too. Remember, we still have 5 more gems to come up, and I really, really, really like this though. And it's only for melee, only for melee. It's not for ranged. Remember that. This is a melee only skill, really bringing out the power of what melee can actually hold. Please note there are things like at Ziri's Axe causes bleed on hit. Anything that has bleed on hit you can put with Bloodlust and it does nuts damage. Swords on the tree, I believe there's a duelist node down south, and I think on the Marauder side with swords you have a chance to bleed Bloodlust. So it's pretty cool what you can do. So that's pretty much going to be it for this video. Of course, leave me your comments down below. Tell me guys what you think. And I hope to see you guys on the next video, hopefully tomorrow. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. I can't wait. I hope I get into the beta. I'll let you guys know a day before or so, 100% if I've gotten in the beta and whatnot. So the 19th, I'll update you guys with all the information that I can. If I do get in, of course, I'll be streaming it. But anyway, like I said, if you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, you can check me out streaming daily at twitch.tv/Pohx. Hope you guys have a wonderful time. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Take care, everybody.